My name is Marian Keaton. I'm 63. Numbers have always made sense to me neat. Obedient things that don't lie. Maybe that's why. When the message arrived, I noticed the time before the words 11:51 p.m. The digits glowed white against the dark screen like an accusation. We've agreed you're no longer part of the family. Don't come to any gatherings. No greeting, no explanation, just a decision. Seconds later, a small red heart appeared beneath the text. My son-in-law, Ethan, had liked it. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the wall clock. I sat there for a moment, the phone resting in my palm, waiting for some other message to follow, something to soften it. Nothing came. I should have felt shock, maybe anger. Instead, a calm spread through me, clean and cold. I set the phone down and opened my laptop. Its familiar blue light filled the room, casting a reflection of my own face, tired, lined, but steady. I logged into my account's mortgage, utilities, insurance. The small business loan I'd co-signed for them last spring, one by one. I began to review and freeze accounts. Each confirmation mortgage. Car insurance. Automatic transfers made a small sound. Sharp and final. Car insurance revoked. Automatic transfers disabled. The cursor blinked on the screen like a heartbeat that had decided to stop giving. When I closed the laptop, the city outside was still, the air heavy with the scent of night rain. Somewhere across Charleston, my daughter was sleeping soundly in the house I'd helped her buy. By 12:03 a.m., every tie I could sever had been cut. The rest, I knew, would take longer. I turned off the light and sat in the dark, listening to the quiet begin its slow, methodical work. Morning light slipped through the blinds, pale and uninvited. The air still carried last night's quiet, a stillness so complete it felt almost fragile. I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee gone cold, my laptop open again. Though the screen was blank this time, old habits take over easily. My fingers hovered above the keyboard, tracing invisible lines as if balancing a ledger no one else could see. That's what my life with Leah had been, a long, unpaid balance sheet disguised as love. It started small. Her first semester at college, just until the scholarship clears. It never did. Then came the down payment for her and Ethan's first house. Just a temporary bridge. I wrote the check while she stood in the doorway, eyes bright with dreams I wanted to believe in. Later, there was Ethan's business, an agency that promised growth but devoured money faster than ambition. He called it our investment. I didn't ask when ours became mine. Every transfer had its moment of tenderness, thank yous, hugs, promises of repayment that faded as quickly as spring rain, and I had let them fade. Because love, I told myself, wasn't about keeping score. But now, scrolling through old receipts and emails, I saw the truth in black and white. The words wire confirmation and payment received formed a timeline more honest than any family photo. Each entry was another way I'd tried to prove I was worth keeping. The kettle clicked off behind me, its small burst of steam startling in the quiet. I closed the laptop. The numbers weren't going anywhere, but the illusion that they meant love was gone. Outside, the first gulls circled above the harbor, calling over the water like reminders of something long overdue. 6 months earlier, the air in Leah's dining room had smelled of rosemary and new money. The table gleamed under a chandelier she'd bought on installment, a fact she'd mentioned twice before the salad even arrived. I remember sitting between the window and the framed family portraits, my reflection caught between who I used to be and who they preferred to see. Leah poured wine for everyone except me. You never really liked Merlot, did you? Mom, you're more of a tea person. Her tone was light, but something underneath it cut sharper than glass. Ethan chuckled. The practiced kind of laugh that fills silence without warmth. Dinner moved like a performance, stories about clients. Travel, the new renovation. Every word from Leah shimmered with the confidence of someone who believed success was inherited. When the conversation turned to money, Ethan grinned at me. We were just talking about how Mom still keeps paper ledgers. She doesn't trust digital banking. It's adorable, really. Laughter followed. Small, but cruel. I smiled. The kind of smile that keeps a table from collapsing. Old habits die hard, I said, though my voice felt like it belonged to someone else. The truth was, I'd taught myself accounting on paper decades ago when calculators were luxuries. Those habits had paid their tuition, their mortgage, their vacations. And yet, here I was, reduced to a punchline at a table I'd helped them afford. When dessert came, Leah raised her glass. To new beginnings, she said. Ethan clinked her glass and added, and letting go of the past. I lifted my water, pretending it was something stronger. Their laughter echoed against the high ceiling. And for the first time, I didn't feel invisible, I felt irrelevant. That night, as I drove home over the quiet bridge, Charleston lights shimmered on the water below. I kept one hand steady on the wheel and one over my chest, pressing down as if to hold something in place. Somewhere between the river and my front door, I understood I had spent years paying for a seat at a table that no longer wanted me there. The morning after the dinner replayed in fragments. Leah's laugh, Ethan's smirk, the hollow sound of my own fork scraping the plate. I woke before dawn, the sky over Charleston still the color of pewter, and brewed a pot of coffee strong enough to steady my hands. My desk sat by the window overlooking the narrow street below, and for the first time in years, it didn't look like a place for bills. It looked like a battlefield. I opened my old binder, the one with careful tabs in shades of blue and gray. Years of statements, transfers, and contracts slid into neat piles across the desk. I'd always told myself it was good accounting practice to keep records. But now it felt like something else, a ledger of trust. Every document bore my signature. Every dollar had left my account quietly, dutifully, one by one. I entered the amounts into a new spreadsheet date. Purpose, recipient, proof. The total rose with each line, climbing like a slow, merciless tide. I wasn't shocked. I was methodical. I'd spent decades turning chaos into order. This was just another kind of reconciliation. Around mid-morning, my phone began to buzz first once, then again. Leah's name lit the screen, followed by Ethan's. I let it ring. They would be calling about the accounts I'd frozen overnight, the mortgage payment, the automatic transfers, the small comforts they never realized weren't theirs to claim. I muted the phone and watched the screen fade to black. The quiet that followed wasn't empty, it was deliberate. By afternoon, I had finished the ledger and saved it under a new name, reconciliation. The word fit perfectly clean, balanced, final, outside. Sunlight spilled across the neighboring rooftops, warm and pale. I closed the binder and took a long breath. For the first time in years, my life was starting to add up again, and not a single number belonged to anyone else. By mid-morning, the silence began to crack. My phone vibrated across the table, a steady rhythm of names lighting up the screen. Leah, Ethan, Leah again. I didn't answer. I watched the notifications pile up like debris on a tide. The first message was short. Mom, what's going on with the accounts I can't log in? The second came minutes later. This isn't funny. We have payments due. Then another. Please answer. Ethan's furious. I sipped my coffee, the steam curling upward in slow, measured spirals. The calm in my chest surprised me. Years ago, panic would have sent me rushing to fix everything. But the part of me that always scrambled to rescue them had gone quiet. By noon, the tone had changed. "You're overreacting. We didn't mean it that way. Why are you doing this to us?" Each text sounded like a different face of the same truth. They weren't sorry for what they'd done, only for losing control of the person who used to protect them. Then Ethan's name appeared with a social media link attached. Against better judgment. I opened it. His post read, "Sad how some parents forget who helped them when they get older. Gratitude goes both ways." The comments section filled with sympathy and half-truths. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot, then closed the app. In the afternoon, the phone stopped ringing. The stillness returned like an old friend. I opened the spreadsheet I'd finished the day before and reviewed the totals. The numbers didn't tremble. Neither did I. When the phone rang again that evening, it was a different name. Julia Marks. We'd met 20 years ago at a charity gala, back when her laugh could fill a room. She'd since built a law practice downtown, the kind that handled estates and family disputes with precision. Her voice was calm, even familiar. "Marian," she said, "I heard from the bank. If you're ready, we can make this official." I looked out the window. The last of the daylight was spilling over the harbor, soft and gold. "I'm ready," I said, and meant it. She didn't ask for details. She didn't need to. Some things, between women who've survived enough, don't require explanation. Julia's office sat on the second floor of a restored townhouse off Broad Street, white shutters, iron balcony, and a brass plaque polished so clean it caught the morning sun. Inside, everything smelled faintly of lemon oil and old paper. I'd been there before for smaller matters wills, insurance. A friend's estate, but that morning, the air felt heavier, as if every framed certificate on the wall was quietly watching. Julia met me at the door, her dark hair pinned neatly, her tone brisk but kind. "I went through what you sent," she said, tapping a thick folder under her arm. "You've documented everything perfectly." We sat across from each other at her oak desk. I handed her my binder, the one I'd organized to the last cent. She opened it like a physician reading an X-ray. "Transfers, tuition, property taxes," she murmured, "all verifiable." "You've been their bank for years, Marian." Her words didn't sting. They simply confirmed what I already knew. She turned to her computer and began drafting the letter. Formal, factual, stripped of emotion. The subject line read, "Outstanding balances. Row family account." I read over the draft as she typed a clear record of what had been paid, what was owed, and a 30-day deadline to arrange repayment before legal action. When she printed it, I signed at the bottom. My name looked steady, not angry, just finished. Julia glanced up. "You're sure about this, I'm sure." I said. They ended it first. The letters went out that afternoon, certified mail and email, both stamped and recorded. I didn't expect the reaction to take long, and it didn't. By evening, my phone lit up with Leah's name. Her voice burst through the speaker before I could greet her. "You'd destroy your own family over money over what?" "Pride." I kept my tone even. "You destroyed it when you hit send." There was a sound on the line, a mix between a sob and a curse, then silence. Later that night, Julia called again. "There's one more thing," she said. "The property deed, the house on Hanover Drive, it's still under your name. You never transferred the title." For a moment, I couldn't speak. I remembered the day Leah and Ethan moved in, the way she'd posed by the door holding the keys, saying, "We finally own something." Now I realized they never had. Julia's voice softened. "It means you have leverage. Marian, more than you think." After we hung up, I sat at my desk. The folder open beside the cooling lamp, paper and proof, the only things that had never lied to me. I traced my name on the deed with one finger, steady and sure, and felt the first real quiet of victory. The storm rolled in slowly, the way most things do in Charleston, announced first by the smell of salt and metal in the air, then by the wind sweeping in from the harbor. I was at my kitchen counter, sealing an envelope for Julia, when the knock came. 3 short, uneven taps. Through the glass, I saw Leah on the porch. Her hair was damp from the rain, her blouse clinging to her shoulders. For a long moment, I didn't move. Part of me wondered if I should let the storm answer for me, but I opened the door. "Mom," she began, voice shaking. "Please, can we talk?" She looked smaller than I remembered, younger, as if the anger that had once made her stand taller was gone. Her eyes were rimmed red. "Ethan told me to send that text. He said it was just to scare you, that you'd understand it wasn't real." I leaned against the doorframe. It felt real enough. She took a shaky breath. "We didn't mean for it to go this far. The letter the account freezes, it's ruining everything. The mortgage, the car, none of it's paid. Ethan's clients are talking. You have to stop this." "I don't have to do anything," I said softly. "You made that clear." Her hands clenched at her sides. "I said things I didn't mean. We were under pressure. Ethan kept saying you used money to control me. I just wanted peace. Peace, I repeated, almost to myself. And this is how you asked for it." For a moment, the wind filled the silence between us. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the harbor, distant but approaching. Leah stepped closer, lowering her voice. "He's been lying to me, Mom, about everything. The business, the money, the house. I didn't know the deed was still in your name." "I swear I didn't." I studied her face, the same eyes that had once looked up at me from the front seat of the car on her first day of school, asking if I'd be proud of her no matter what. I used to think there was nothing she could say that would surprise me. I was wrong. I turned back into the house, opened the drawer by the door, and took out a single envelope. It was already addressed and sealed. Julia had prepared it earlier that day. I held it out to her. "What's this?" she asked, voice breaking. "Formal notice," I said. 30 days to settle accounts and vacate the property if no resolution is reached. You said I'm not part of the family. Let's keep it consistent." She stared at me, blinking hard, as if the words couldn't quite settle. Then she reached for the envelope, her hand trembling. "You wouldn't." "I already did." For a moment, neither of us moved. The rain began to fall harder, drumming against the porch roof. Leah turned away, pressing the envelope against her chest, as though warmth could be found in paper. I watched her walk down the steps, her figure blurring against the gray of the storm. When the door clicked shut behind me, the thunder broke open over the water loud, final, cleansing. I stood there in the quiet that followed, feeling no triumph, no hatred, only a deep, steady calm, the kind that comes when a storm finally finds where to land. By the following week, Charleston had done what it always did best, turn private matters into polite conversation. News moved quietly here, under the cover of manners, but whispers traveled faster than the tide. It started online. Leah's polished posts, once filled with dinners, renovations, and brand collaborations, began to disappear one by one. Then came the comments, subtle at first, then sharper. Someone mentioned unpaid invoices. Another hinted at a lawsuit. By the third day, a local business forum was buzzing about a couple under investigation for financial mismanagement. I didn't have to read between the lines. I knew exactly who they meant. Ethan's real estate agency quietly removed his profile. A client, aware of delayed payments and inconsistencies, sent a brief note. I always wondered how the funds were managed. Relatives who had stayed silent for years began calling each other. My cousin Ruth left a message that said, almost kindly, "Turns out you weren't the crazy one after all." Through it all, I said nothing. I didn't post, didn't answer questions, didn't correct or defend. The truth had already taken care of that on its own. In the evenings, I sat by the window with a cup of tea, listening to the low murmur of rain against the glass. The city outside glowed soft and distant, as if washed clean. Somewhere beyond the water, Leah was learning the weight of consequence, the slow, heavy kind that doesn't arrive with shouting, but with silence. I thought about calling her, then didn't. Some lessons, once begun, can't be interrupted. The quiet was enough. It was. It was the only language left between us that neither of us could twist. The email arrived early on a Wednesday morning, just as sunlight began to stretch across the kitchen tiles. Julia's name sat at the top of my inbox, calm and unassuming. I clicked it open before my coffee had even cooled. Settlement signed. Assets transferred. You're clear. That was all it said. 3 sentences. One ending. For a while, I just stared at the words. There was no exclamation, no grand statement, just the clean precision of closure. I printed the message and folded it neatly, slipping it into the back of my binder. The last page of the last chapter. Later that afternoon, I called Julia to confirm the sale of the house. She spoke in her usual measured tone, explaining that the funds would arrive in my account by the end of the week. I thanked her, though the word felt small compared to what she had helped me reclaim. When we hung up, I opened the spreadsheet one final time. The columns of numbers glowed faintly in the afternoon light, each line a memory of something I had once mistaken for love. Tuition, mortgage, car, every figure carried a face. A season, a small piece of myself I had given away too easily. My hand hovered over the delete key. For a moment, I hesitated, not out of doubt, but recognition. This was the record of who I had been, the fixer, the provider, the silent accountant of everyone else's happiness. Then I pressed delete. The screen went blank. The silence that followed was weightless, like exhaling after holding a breath for too many years. There was no triumph in it, only balance clean. Steady, earned, outside. The church bells from St. Michael's rang across the city. Marking the hour, I listened. Not for meaning, but for proof that time was finally mine again. Chapter 10. The light on Beaufort Street. The new apartment was smaller, but the quiet fit me perfectly. Afternoon light filtered through gauzy curtains, brushing against bare walls that smelled faintly of fresh paint and lemon soap. I unpacked slowly, one box at a time, no rush, no audience. On the windowsill, I placed the old brass lamp that had once stood in Leah's nursery. Its shade was a little frayed, the base slightly dented from years of moving, but it still gave off the same soft, amber glow. When evening settled over Beaufort Street, I plugged it in and turned it on. The light spilled gently across the room, warm against the cool twilight. I stood for a moment, watching it spread, and felt something shift inside me, quiet, final, whole. This light isn't for waiting anymore, I whispered. It's for peace. Outside, Charleston hummed softly, and for the first time in years, the life around me and within me finally felt mine.